Hello again, MGTOW. Here we are again, Riverside, in one of my most favorite states in the Union. And when I'm done with this video, I'm gonna jump in this river. Yeah, by myself. I know. They say you should never swim alone, but that's a chance I'm willing to take with this one. Besides, I'll be just wading in the water, enjoying the nice, cool, refreshing water that comes down from the mountains, where the river starts not too far from here. Anyways, today I want to talk about feminism and democracy, and how these two things have kind of married each other. These two ideas have married each other to the detriment of men. You see, here in the West, prior to the American Revolution, right? Prior to the French Revolution, really, people accepted this idea that we were to be governed by those who were capable of displaying massive amount of strength, right? That was the way that God intended it to be. The so-called divine right of kings. And through much of human history, at least in the West, as far as I'm concerned, people accepted this notion that if the royals were in power, right, then that's the way that God intended it to be. These were special people with special privileges and special gifts, and kings had a responsibility to their people, right, to protect them and to assure their prosperity. But that wasn't always the case, and hence this idea of reverting it all, right? The idea that the great American experiment, right? The idea that the power was not to come from the top down, but rather from the people themselves, from the bottom up. And women, you see, and in particular those women in the feminist movement, took this idea to one step further, right? By saying that it wasn't just all men that were created equal in the eyes of God, but it was all beings, all human beings, that were equal in the eyes of God. And thus, women should be vindicated from their past shortcomings, right? From their past faults, and be welcomed in and integrated into the decision making taking place in the rest of society. A society that was, for the most part, handled by men, right? Promoted, geared, controlled by men. But you see, the people that failed to fight against feminism, they did so because they did not take into account the inner nature of these beings, these superficial beings that we call women, right? Most wondrous to look at, much like this river, but you must like swimming alone, right? In a river such as this, when dealing with women, you have to be very careful. Otherwise, you may drown in a sea of stupidity. So the men that fail to fight feminism fail to account for women's nature. And so women, you see, found the democratic process, right? This idea of democracy, right? Communal decision-making process. I'm sorry, a communal decision-making process. They found it very enticing indeed, and it suited them well. Feminism, this idea of women being equal to men, was propelled forward, right, to its ultimate conclusion. That is what we have today going on, right alongside this idea of democracy. Now you say, well, sweet padre, you're just not shitting on communism, you're shitting on democracy too, right? And I say yes, to a certain extent, and the reason being that democracy, as far as we know, well, what can we say of a system, right? A system in which people are just not held accountable, right? No one is responsible. And if you look at this, the political scene today, what we have going on, right? Those in the Democratic Party blame the Republicans for all the faults of society, and those in the Republican Party, right, blame the Democrats, and the Green Party blames them all, and the Socialist Party of America and the Communist Party of America, they say, we can work together to fix things, and these other ideas are enticing to some people, but the thing is, we have democracy, right? A system in which we make decisions communally, right? The decisions don't come from top down, and it is because of this system, right, where no one is responsible, that women have been able to get away with so much, right? And the reason why we have so much chaos in today's society. If the American corporation worked in the same way as our system of government does, this country would not be the economic powerhouse and the military powerhouse that it is today, right? If the military worked the same way, right? With a system of everybody making decisions communally, right? The decisions have to be made from the top down. Now, I'm not advocating for big government, you see. Libertarianism should be the order of the day, as far as I'm concerned. But the people in charge of making decisions should be qualified to do it. They should be qualified to do so based on experience, based on their ability, and not because it feels good to have everybody participate. And I'm not advocating for separation of the races or the sex or whatever. I mean, if there's a woman who's qualified to make decisions that will bring about welcomed and beneficial changes to society, then by all means, we should let her do that. We should let her be the boss. But we should not let someone be the boss simply because she's a woman, right? Or because they're black or Hispanic, right? Or Native American, or even white for that matter. So the feminists love this chaos, you see, because they can further their agenda when no one is responsible, right, for the decisions being taken, the decisions being made. We can forever blame the next party, right, and we can further our agenda, whatever that agenda may be. We now know that women shun responsibility. Many women, and it's because of this shunning of responsibility, right, that they gravitate toward this system of governance, democracy. It was never intended to be what it is now. It's very simple. We either make decisions in a group or we make decisions as individuals. But when two wolves or one wolf and three sheep, I should say. When three sheep and one wolf, or rather, how does the saying go? Two sheep and one wolf, right? Or two wolves and one sheep. Okay, there we go. Now I got it. When two wolves and one sheep are gonna make decisions, as to what's gonna be had for dinner, right? And we have a democratic system. So now let's think about it. We have two sheep and two wolves and one sheep, right? And a decision's got to be made as to what is for dinner, right? Then how are things likely to work out, right? The sheep is going to get eaten. So democracy is the same way. You have people who are lazy, who are non-productive, right? Who are non-competitive, who are clinging to others for their support. I mean, let's examine this, right? A lot of women are seem incapable of taking care of themselves, producing for themselves, right? They seem incapable of doing that, and so they're benefiting from this system of government we call democracy, right? The system of making decisions, right? In order to prevent abuse of this system, the founding fathers, yes, the founding fathers, and they were all men of this American experiment, right? Realized that if we had a purely democratic system, right, in order to rule our great nation, a nation in which I consciously chose to be a part of, then it was going to be chaotic because the masses were going to take over, right? The mobs of people making decisions, right? And people were going to make decisions emotionally instead of rationally. So they came up with something called a constitution and a democratic, or rather a constitutional republic. Right? That is a republic. A republic means it comes from the word. It's from two words: rex, which means to rule, like Tyrannosaurus Rex, like the dinosaur, because it was a ruling dinosaur, right? The king of the dinosaurs. And public, right? For public life, the general public, or the people. So republic, a government of the people. So what we have here in the United States is a constitutional republic, a government for the people and by the people, but based on a constitution. And that's what they came up with. That was the best thing they could come up with at the time, and the best thing we have been able to come up with up until now, as far as ruling ourselves go. But the women have exploited this. The people who are non-competitive, who depend on others for their sustenance, for their to make a living, right? A mediocre living at that. they're just abusing the system, and we cannot allow that, right? Again, the feminists benefit from this system because they are non-competitive. These are people who usually find every excuse in the book as to why they can't get to work. Anyways, MGTOW, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you liked it, please share and subscribe. Like I said, I'm gonna jump in this river here by myself, and if I don't drown, then I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and happy Labor Day. Bye bye.